Hey everyone, it's Lisa Pinder, your local realtor here in the Washington, D.C. metro area, serving Accokeek, Fort Washington, Southern Maryland, Prince George's County, Charles County, and the surrounding communities. Today we are comparing two areas that come up a lot for buyers who want access to Washington, D.C., more space, and a lifestyle that feels a little more relaxed than being right inside the city. We are talking about Accokeek, Maryland versus Fort Washington, Maryland. And if you are searching for homes in Prince George's County or Southern Maryland, there's a good chance both of these areas have popped up in your search. Maybe you are looking for more space. Maybe you want to move up from a townhouse or a starter home. Maybe you want a larger yard. Maybe you want to be close to National Harbor, Alexandria, DC, or Northern Virginia. Maybe you're trying to decide which area gives you the best lifestyle for your budget. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of both Accokeek and Fort Washington. We are going to talk about lifestyle, commute, housing, pricing, convenience, space, community feel, and who each area may be best for. And as always, I'm going to keep it real, because my goal is to never just sell you a house. My goal is to help you find the right fit and create a plan that gives you peace of mind throughout the buying and selling process. Okay, so let's start with the overall feel. Accokeek and Fort Washington are both located in Prince George's County, Maryland, and both offer access to Washington, D.C., the National Harbor, Northern Virginia, and Southern Maryland, but they do not feel exactly the same. Accokeek tends to feel a little more spread out, a little quieter, and in many areas, more rural suburban. You will find larger lots, newer communities, established homes, and pockets where you get that peaceful feeling of being tucked away while still having access to the city. Fort Washington, on the other hand, tends to feel a little more connected to the immediate DC National Harbor corridor. It has a more established suburban feel in many areas, with older neighborhoods, some waterfront or near waterfront opportunities, larger homes in certain sections, and convenient access to major commuter routes. So if I had to describe it simply, I would say Accokeek often appeals to the buyers who want space, quiet, and a little more breathing room. Fort Washington often appeals to the buyer who wants convenience, access, and proximity to the National Harbor, DC, and Northern Virginia. Now let's talk housing. Accokeek is very attractive to move-up buyers because you can find larger homes, newer construction, communities, homes with basements, homes with yards, and properties that give buyers that next chapter feeling. This is one of the reasons I talk about Accokeek for move-up buyers. A lot of families come here because they are ready for more space, more rooms, more parking, more yard, more privacy, more comfort. They are not just trying to buy a house. They are trying to elevate their lifestyle. According to Redfin's March 2026 numbers, Accokeek had a median sale price of about $688,500. And the homes are up 19.1% year over year. They're selling in 108 days and 13 sold in March. Now that tells us Accokeek is still holding strong in price, but buyers are taking their time. That is important. If you are a buyer, that may mean you have room to be thoughtful, compare options, and possibly negotiate depending on the home, condition, and seller motivation. If you are a seller, it means pricing and presentation matter. You cannot just assume buyers will rush in because the home is in Accokeek. The home has to make sense. Now, let's look at Fort Washington. According to Redfin's March 2026 data, Fort Washington had a median sale price of $520,000, which was down 12.1% year over year. Homes were selling after an average of 38 days on the market compared to 66 days the year before. And there were 30 homes sold in March compared to the 20 the year before. That tells a totally different story. Fort Washington appears to be moving faster, at least based on the March data. But with more homes sold, and fewer average days on the market compared to Accokeek. The median price was lower than Accokeek's and down compared to the year before. So what does that mean for buyers? Fort Washington may offer a lower median price point than Accokeek, depending on the home and the neighborhood, and it may appeal to buyers who want convenience and access while still getting more home than they may find closer into DC. Now, Zillow's March 2026 data showed Fort Washington with a median sale price around $467,000 as of February 28th, a median list price around $499,000 as of March 31st, and 130 homes for sale inventory at the end of March. Zillow also showed a median 20 days to pending. So even though different platforms may show different exact numbers, the overall theme is similar. Fort Washington has more inventory showing online, a more active pace in some segments, and a price point that may be attractive for buyers who want access without necessarily jumping into some of the higher Accokeek price points. Now let's get into the pros and the cons. First, Accokeek. One of the biggest pros of Accokeek is space. Accokeek gives many buyers what they feel like they cannot get closer into DC, larger homes, bigger lots, more peaceful streets, and a lifestyle that feels less congested. For families, move-up buyers, remote workers, and people who entertain, that matters. If you need a home office, a finished basement, a guest room, a playroom, an outdoor space, Accokeek may speak to you. Another pro is the lifestyle. Accokeek has a slower, more relaxed feel in many areas. You can still get to shopping, restaurants, and major routes, but you may feel like you have a little more separation from the busyness. For some people, that is exactly what they want. They want to be able to work in DC, Northern Virginia, or nearby employment centers, but come home to something that feels more peaceful. Another pro is that Accokeek is attractive for buyers who are thinking long-term. If you are buying your forever home or your next 10-year home, Accokeek may give you more of that settle in and stay feeling. You may be thinking about schools, family gatherings, space for aging parents, room for teenagers, or just wanting a home that can grow with you. Now let's talk about Accokeek's cons. The first con is commute and convenience. Depending on where you work, Accokeek may feel a little further out. If you are commuting into DC daily, or Northern Virginia, or certain parts of Maryland, you need to at least test the commute during the actual times you will be driving. Now, not on a Sunday afternoon, not when traffic is light, during real life. Morning traffic, evening traffic, school traffic, rainy day traffic, because that commute truly matters. Another con is that some parts of Accokeek may not feel as commercially built up as buyers expect. If you are coming from a more urban or highly developed suburban area, you may be used to having everything 5 minutes away. Accokeek has conveniences nearby, but depending on where you live, you may still drive to Waldorf, Brandywine, National Harbor, or other surrounding areas for certain shopping, dining, and entertainment. Some people love that because it keeps the area quieter. Other people may feel like they want more immediate retail and restaurants. Another possible con is price. Accokeek can be more expensive than some buyers expect, especially for larger, newer, or well-updated homes. If you're looking for more move-up homes, newer construction, or homes with more square footage, you may find yourself in the 600s, 700s, or higher, depending on the property. Now let's move to Fort Washington. One major pro of Fort Washington is the location. Fort Washington is very appealing for people who want to be near the National Harbor, MGM, Woodrow Wilson Bridge, Alexandria, DC, and major commuter routes. If you work in DC, Northern Virginia, Fort Washington may feel convenient, more so than going further deeper into Southern Maryland. Another pro is the variety. Fort Washington has a mix of housing styles and price points. You can find older established homes, larger homes with character, some luxury pockets, homes near water, and properties that may offer more affordability compared to some nearby markets. For buyers who want options, that can be super attractive. Another pro is the lifestyle access. Being near National Harbor is a big deal for some buyers. Restaurants, entertainment, hotels, events, waterfront views, and an access into Virginia can make Fort Washington feel connected without being directly in the city. If you like having things to do nearby, Fort Washington may check that box better than Accokeek. Another pro is that Fort Washington can appeal to buyers who want a home that still feels suburban without a stronger connection to the DC metro lifestyle. Now, for Washington, cons. One con is that for Washington is more established, some homes may need updates. That is not a bad thing if you are a buyer who sees opportunity. But if you want turnkey, you may need to be selective and prepared to pay for homes that have already been renovated. Older homes can come with older systems, older layouts, smaller closets, dated kitchens, or renovation needs. So inspections really matter. Your budget for repairs really matters. And you need to understand whether you are buying move-in ready or buying potential. Another con is that depending on the exact neighborhood, Fort Washington can feel different from street to street. This is why I always tell buyers, do not judge an area based on one listing. Drive the neighborhood, visit during the different times of day. Look at the surrounding streets. Check your commute. Pay attention to the condition of nearby homes. Think about what lifestyle you actually want. Another con may be lot size or privacy depending on the home. While Fort Washington does have some larger properties, Accokeek may feel more spacious overall in certain areas. So if your top priority is land, privacy, and a quieter feel, Accokeek may win for you. Now let's compare them directly. If you want more space and a quieter feel, Accokeek may be the better fit. If you want closer access to the National Harbor, the DC and Northern Virginia, Fort Washington may be the better fit. If you want newer move-up homes or larger suburban homes, Accokeek may give you more of what you are picturing. If you want more established neighborhoods with potentially more variety in price points, Fort Washington may be worth a strong look. If you are working remotely or hybrid and do not have to commute every single day, Accokeek can make a lot of sense because you may be able to enjoy more home and more peace without worrying as much about daily drive time. If you commute frequently into DC or Virginia, Fort Washington may feel more practical. Now, let's talk about buyers who are relocating from DC, Alexandria, Arlington, or other high-priced areas. A lot of buyers look at both Accokeek and Fort Washington because they are trying to stretch their dollars. They may be tired of paying city prices for less space. They may want a garage. They may want a yard. They may want a basement. They may want a dedicated office space. They may want room for kids, pets, family, or entertaining. And this is where both areas can shine. But the question becomes, what are you willing to trade? Because every area has a trade-off. Accokeek may give you more breathing room, but you may drive farther for some conveniences. Or Washington may give you better access, but you may have to compromise on age, updates, lot size, or layout, depending on your budget. That is why the best choice is not about which area is better. It is about which area is better for you. Now, let's talk about sellers. Here we go. If you are selling in Accokeek, your marketing needs to highlight lifestyle and space. Do not just say 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2-car garage. Tell the story. Talk about the basement where the family can gather. Talk about the backyard where kids can play. Talk about the home office for remote work. Talk about the peaceful community feel. Talk about access to DC while enjoying more room to breathe. Accokeek buyers are often buying a lifestyle upgrade, so your marketing should feel like an upgrade. If you are selling in Fort Washington, your marketing needs to highlight access and convenience. Talk about proximity to the National Harbor. Talk about access to DC and Virginia. Talk about established neighborhoods. Talk about nearby dining, entertainment, commuter routes, and lifestyle options. Fort Washington buyers may be looking for a balance of space and connection, so your market should show both. Now buyers, here's where you need to be careful. Do not just shop price. A $550,000 home in Accokeek and a $550,000 home in Fort Washington may offer 2 completely different lifestyles. One may offer more land, one may offer better commute. One may need more updates, one may have a better basement. One may be closer to shopping. One may have a higher tax bill. One may have an HOA. One may have no HOA. So before you fall in love with photos, understand the full picture. What is your lifestyle? Where do you work? How often do you commute? Do you need schools? Do you want quiet? Do you want convenience? Do you entertain? Do you need a home office? Do you need multi-generational space? Are you buying for 5 years or 15? These questions matter more than just asking which house is prettier. Now, let's talk about the market timing. Right now, buyers are dealing with interest rates that are not super low, but not as high as the peak levels we saw previously. Nationally, Freddie Mac reported that the average 30-year mortgage rate at 6.3% in late April 2026 still is below what it was 1 year earlier. That means affordability is still a conversation. Buyers want value, sellers want strong offers, and both sides need strategy. In Accokeek, where days on market have been longer in recent data, buyers may have more room to negotiate depending upon the property. In Fort Washington, where Redfin showed homes selling in an average of 38 days in March, buyers may need to move a little faster on the right home. But either way, the key is preparation. If you are a buyer, keep pre-approved before you start touring. Know your comfort payment. Understand your closing costs. Ask about seller help. Ask about grants or assistance programs. Ask about the total monthly payment, not just the price. If you are selling, know your competition. Know your net. Prepare your home before listing. Do not ignore repairs. And do not price emotionally. Now, here's my honest Lisa opinion. Accokeek is a beautiful fit for the buyer who wants to breathe just a little bit. If you want the larger home, the quieter setting, the move-up lifestyle, the family space, and the feeling that you are not right on top of everything, Accokeek should absolutely be on your list. Fort Washington is a beautiful fit for the buyer who wants access. If you want to be closer to National Harbor, DC, Alexandria, and major commuter routes while still enjoying suburban living, Fort Washington should absolutely be on your list. Both areas have value. Both areas have stronger buyer appeal. Both areas can make sense. But the right answer depends on your life. And that is why I always say, do not just buy a house, buy the right plan. Because the house is one piece of the puzzle. The financing is another piece. The commute, another piece. The resale value, another piece. The lifestyle, another piece. The timing is another piece. And your peace of mind is the piece that holds it all together. So if you are debating between Accokeek and Fort Washington, I would love to help you compare the two based on your actual goals. Not just general information, not just what the internet says, not just what a random online estimate says. Your budget, your family, your commute, your lifestyle, your timeline, your next move. That is how we make a smart decision. So if you are thinking about buying or selling in Accokeek, Fort Washington, Southern Maryland, or anywhere in the Washington, D.C. metro area, reach out to me, Elisa Pinder, with the Pinder Group of eXp Realty. We help families create a clear plan so they can buy, sell, and move with confidence, especially when they are ready for the next chapter and do not want the process to feel chaotic. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because I am going to continue bringing you real local conversations about living in Accokeek, moving to Southern Maryland, buying in Prince George's County, and making smart real estate decisions in 2026. I'm Lisa Pinder, your local realtor, and I'll see you in the next video.